Sci-Fi Audio and One Click Digital present The Fractal Prince by Hannu Rajaniemi, narrated by Scott Brick. The author opens with two epigraphs. The first is a quotation from The Arrest of Arsène Lupin by Maurice Leblanc. His likeness? How can I trace it? I have seen Arsène Lupin a score of times, and each time a different being has stood before me. Or rather the same being under 20 distorted images, reflected by as many mirrors. The second epigraph that begins this novel is from Crystallography by Christian Book. When we gaze upon a fractal, we must peer at a one-way mirror, unaware of the other mirror, standing somewhere far behind us. And now, the Fractal Prince.
Prologue: The Dreaming Prince. That night, Maciek sneaks out of his dream to visit the thief again. In the dream, he is in a bookshop. It is a dark, filthy place, with a low ceiling and a drooping staircase that leads up to a small attic. The shelves bend their backs under the weight of dusty volumes. A heady smell of incense from the back room mingles with a whiff of dust and mold in the air. Maciek squints at the handwritten shelf labels in the dim light. They have changed since the last time, and list esoteric topics: fire eaters, human cannonballs, poison resistors, wall of death riders, multiple mental marvels, escapologists. His pulse quickens, and he reaches for a small volume whose back says The Secret History of the Zucchini Cannon in curly golden letters. He loves the stories in his dreams, although he can never quite remember them when he wakes up. He opens the book and starts reading. The cannonball man never loved her, even though he told her so many times. His only true love was flying, that sensation of being blasted out of the mouth of the great iron thing that his grandfather cast out of metal that was said to come from a rock that fell from the sky. He wanted a wife like a thing he should have, another tool to keep the great mechanism he and the cannon formed together in working order. But love was the wrong word for it. Maciek blinks. It's not the right story. It does not lead to the thief. He jumps when someone coughs behind him, and he slams the book shut. If he turns around, he will see the lanky shopkeeper sitting behind the counter, looking at him disapprovingly, eyes wild, gray chest hairs peeking out from the buttonhole of a stained shirt, unshaven face full of malice. Then he will wake up. Maciek shakes his head. Tonight he is not just a dreamer. He is on a mission. Carefully he replaces the book in the shelf and starts walking up the stairs. The wood groans under his weight with each step. He feels heavy. The handrail suddenly feels soft in his grip. If he is not careful, he will sink into another, deeper dream. But then he sees it. A flash of blue amongst the gray volumes, up in the corner shelf ahead, just where the stairway ends. Below, the shopkeeper coughs again, a mucus, jagged sound. Maciek reaches for the book, standing up on his toes and pulling at the blue binding with his fingertips. The book falls, and a cascade of others comes toppling down with it. Dust stings his eyes and throat. He starts coughing. "What are you doing up there, boy?" says a creaking voice, followed by sudden shuffling steps and the groaning of floorboards. Maciek gets down on his knees, tosses aside books on flea circuses and singing mice, and uncovers the blue volume. There are tears and dents on the cover, with brown paper peeking out, but the silver cover design, with its minarets, stars, and moon, is still bright. Something comes up the stairs, something that smells of incense and dust, not the shopkeeper anymore, but something far worse, something papery and whispering and old. Maciek fixes his eyes on the book and flings it open. The words leap out at him, black insects moving on the yellowed page. Among the histories of past peoples, a story is told that in the old days, in the islands of India and China, there was a Sasanian king, a master of armies, guards, servants, and retainers, who had 2 sons, an elder and a younger. The words swirl. The paper and the letters bulge out, form the shape of a hand, fingers of black and white reaching out from the book. The dust thing coughs and whispers, and something brushes Maciek's shoulder, tickling sharply. He grabs the hand as hard as he can, and the razor edges of the word fingers cut his palm. But he holds on, and the hand pulls him into the suddenly vast sea of language in front of him. The words roll over him like waves. A gentle teasing pull and push of cold foam around his bare feet. A warm evening sun above, a beach of white sand like a smile. For a while there, I thought you weren't going to make it, the thief says. He holds Maciek's hand in a warm, tight grip, a slight man in shorts and a white shirt, eyes hidden behind sunglasses, blue like the Book of Nights. The thief has laid a towel on the sand, close to a cluster of abandoned parasols and lounge chairs. They sit together and watch the slow descent of the sun into the sea. I used to come here, Maciek says. You know, before. I know. I took it from your memories, the thief says. And suddenly, the empty beach is full of Saturday afternoons. Maciek and his father would go to the tech bazaars first, spread the loot on the sand, test little swimming drones in the waves, or just sit and watch the ferries and jet skis. But even with the soft sand between his toes, the smell of sun and sweat and salt on his skin, and the red curve of the rocks at the other end of the beach, it does not feel quite right. Not entirely his. You mean you stole it, Maciek says. You didn't seem to need it. Besides, I hoped you'd like it. It's okay, I suppose, Maciek says. Some details are wrong. Blame your memory, not me, the thief says. That bothers Maciek. You look different too, he says, just to say something else. It helps with not getting caught, the thief says. He takes off his sunglasses and puts them in his breast pocket. He does look a little different somehow, although Maciek could swear the heavy eyelids and the eyebrows and the little twist in the corner of his mouth are the same as before. You never told me how they caught you, Maciek says. Just about the prison and how Mieli got you out, and how she took you to Mars to look for your memories, so you could steal something for her boss, and then she would let you go. And then? The thief smiles, like he sometimes does, as if at some joke only he knows. You found the memories, but there was another you who tried to take them, so you trapped him in a prison, and only got out with a box with a god in it, and a memory that said that you needed to go to Earth. You do have a good memory. A sudden current of anger rushes through Maciek's temples. Don't make fun of me. I don't like it when people make fun of me. And you are not even people, just something I made up. I thought you went to school. Don't they teach you about the importance of made-up things? Maciek snorts. Only to Chitraguptas. The great common task is about reality. Death is real. The enemy is real. I see you are a quick learner, too. So what are you doing here? Maciek gets up and walks a few angry steps towards the sea. I could tell them about you, you know. The other Chens. They would cut you out. If they caught me, the thief says. Maciek turns around. The thief is looking up at him, squinting his eyes at the sun, head cocked to one side, grinning. Tell me about the last time, Maciek says. Ask me nicely. Maciek is about to tell the thief what he thinks, that he is a figment of Maciek's imagination, and Maciek does not have to ask him anything. But the thief is so full of mirth, like a little Buddha that Maciek's mother used to have in her garden, that the words die on his lips, and he takes a deep breath instead. Slowly, he walks back to the towel and sits down, hugging his knees. All right, he says. Tell me about how they caught you the last time. Please. That's better, the thief says. The sun is barely more than a golden wink in the horizon now, but he still puts his sunglasses on. The sunset spreads out in the sea, like flowing watercolors. Well, it's a story told against death, like I am, like you are, like we all are. Did anyone ever teach you that? Maciek gives him an impatient look. The thief leans back and grins at him. Here's how it goes, he says. On the day the hunter came for me, I was killing ghost cats from the Schrödinger box. All around them, the dream ver begins to paint the thief's words with the sunset, sand, and sea. Chapter 1. The Thief and the Box. On the day the hunter comes for me, I am killing ghost cats from the Schrödinger box. Q-dot tendrils like sparks from a Tesla coil trail from my fingers into the little box of lacquered wood floating in the middle of my cabin. Behind it, displayed on one gently curving wall, is the highway, a constantly flowing river of spaceships and thought wisps, a starry brushstroke in the dark. A branch of the gravitational artery through the solar system our ship, Perhonen, is following from Mars to Earth. But today, I'm blind to its glory. My world is the size of a black box, just big enough to hold a wedding ring, the mind of a god, or the key to my freedom. I lick sweat from my lips. My field of vision is a spiderweb of quantum protocol diagrams. Perhonen's mathematics goggles whisper and mutter in my head. To help my all-too-human senses and brain, they translate the problem into Yosegi, opening a Japanese trick box. The quantum protocols are sensations, imperfections and valleys in the marquetry, pressure points inside the wood like tense muscles, faint grins of sliding sections. I need to find the right sequence that opens it. Except that here, the trick is not opening it too early. The wood patterns are hidden in the countless qubits inside, each 0 and 1 at the same time, and the moves are quantum logic operations, executed by the arrays of lasers and interferometers the goggles have built in the ship's wings. It all amounts to what the ancients called quantum process tomography, trying to figure out what the box does to the probe states we ease into it gently, like lockpicks. It feels like trying to juggle 8-side Rubik's cubes while trying to solve them at the same time. And every time I drop one, God kills a billion kittens. The goggles light up a section of the diagram, red threads in the tangle. Immediately I can see another section that is linked. If we rotate this arrow and that state and apply a Hadamard gate and measure, the imaginary wood beneath my fingers groans and clicks. Sesame, I whisper. Drathtor the Zoku elder liked to talk, and it wasn't that hard to get him to explain what a box was, without letting on that I had stolen one from their Zoku 20 years ago, of course. "Imagine a box," he said. "Now put a cat in it, along with a death machine, a bottle of poison, cyanide, say, connected to a mechanism with a hammer, and a single atom from a radioactive element. In the next hour, the atom either decays or not, either triggering or not triggering the hammer. So in the next hour, the cat is either alive or dead. Quantum mechanics claims that there is no definite cat in the box, only a ghost, a superposition of a live cat and a dead cat. That is, until we open it and look. A measurement will collapse the system into one state or the other. So goes Schrödinger's thought experiment. It is completely wrong, of course. A cat is a macroscopic system, and there is no mysterious intervention by a magical observer needed to make it live or die. Just its interaction with the rest of the universe, a phenomenon called decoherence, provides the collapse into one macrostate. But in the microscopic world, for qubits, quantum mechanical equivalents of ones and zeros, the Schrödinger's cat is real. The box contains trillions of ghost cats. The live cat states encode information. A mind, even. A living, thinking mind. The box qubits have been rotated into a limbo state between nothingness and existence. The mind inside would not notice anything. A set of quantum gates can let it continue thinking, feeling, dreaming. If it stays inside, all is well. But if it tries to get out, any interaction with the environment will bring the universe down on it like a ton of bricks and collapse it into nothingness. Bad kitty. Dead kitty. "So what do you put in a box like that?" I asked Drathtor. "Something very, very dangerous," he said. A section of the box in the qubit map we have created over the last week lights up like a city at night. I can feel it. The unnodding that always comes with a job when you discover the flaw in a lock or a security system or a con-mark's mind. Eagerly I close my eyes and follow the flow of moves. The wood panels slide beneath my fingers. The goggles sing with the joy of the orgasmic jolts of pleasure they receive from computing spectral sequences of Hilbert space operators. More light in the map. The lid moves, ever so slightly, and snaps shut. The next register dies, for good. The protocol network ties itself into a knot. The last measurement shows only death. I have destroyed another fragment of the contents of the box. I swear and throw the accursed thing across the cabin. The Q-dot tendrils tear and dissolve. The box bounces from the starry field of the wall and spins in the air. The words that have been ringing in my head for days come back to me. I am not Jean le Flambeur. A small white butterfly lands deftly on the box and brings its spin to a halt, fluttering its wings. "Before you break anything," the ship says in its soothing feminine voice, "I would like to point out that this was all your idea." The ship is right. It was my idea. Or rather, my earlier self's idea. The original Jean le Flambeur. A thief and mind burglar of legend, an all-around nice guy, who left me with nothing apart from a few fragmented memories, old enemies, a prison sentence, and the thing inside the box. Touché, I say. That's 3 days straight now, Jean. Maybe you should leave it alone for a while. There is no time. You told me it's decohering. Fatigue stings my eyes like sand, a reminder that in spite of appearances, I am not free. Perhonen's Captain Mieli stubbornly refuses to give me root access to my Sobornost-made body, keeping it firmly within baseline human operating parameters, in spite of my assurances that my previous attempts to escape our involuntary partnership were misunderstandings, and that I am firmly committed to paying my debt of honor to her and her elusive Sobornost employer. Honest. But I can't give up. When the ship first examined the box, it found that the quantum information inside is short-lived. In a few days, the kittens will die of old age. Almost as if the designer deliberately wanted to introduce a time limit. Like a game, Perhonen says. As you say, it's a Zoku device. What do you expect? There is a great variety of Zokus out there, but they are universally game-obsessed. Not that the Sobornost are immune to the lure. A memory of their dilemma prison and its deadly games makes me shiver, not to mention its resident monster, the All-Defector, the shape-shifting nightmare who wore my own face to beat me. Whatever job Mieli's boss got me out for has to be better than that. I don't know what to expect. Neither Mieli nor you have told me what's inside it, or what it has to do with our destination, which I'm less than keen to visit, by the way. Earth isn't that bad, I say. Have you been there since the collapse? I don't know, but I know we have to go there. I spread my hands. Look, I just steal things to earn my keep. If you have a problem with the big picture, take it up with Mieli. Not with the mood she's in, the ship says. The butterfly avatar makes a circuit around my head. But maybe you should talk to her about the big picture. Mieli has been acting strangely. She is not the life of the party at the best of times, but she has been even quieter than usual during the slow weeks of our journey from Mars, spending most of her time in the pilot's creche or in the main cabin meditating. That, I say, seems like an exceptionally bad idea. Usually I'm the last person in the world she wants to talk to. What is the ship talking about? You could be surprised. Fine. Right after I get this thing open. I frown at the box. The butterfly avatar settles on my nose, making me blink furiously until I have to brush it away. It sounds to me like you are trying to distract yourself from something, it says. Is there something you are not telling me? Not a thing. I'm an open book. I sigh. Don't you have better things to do? They created the first psychotherapist bots about 400 years ago. What makes you think you are not talking to one? The avatar dissolves into a bubble of Q dots, leaving behind a faint ozone smell. Get some sleep, Jean. I touch the box, feel the solid shape of the warm wood, make it spin in the air again until its edges become a blur. The movement makes me drowsy. The ship is right. It is easier to think about it than about Mars and the castle and the goddess. And as soon as I close my eyes, they all come back. The memory castle on Mars could have been mine. All its rooms with their wax and brass statues, the treasures and Zoku jewels stolen from diamond mines and gods. It's all gone now, my whole life, eaten by an Archon who turned it into a prison. The only thing left is the box, and the memories that came with it. I could have reached out and taken it all back, but I didn't. Why not? I am not Jean le Flambeur. I walk down the golden marble corridor of the castle in my mind and look through the open doors into the rooms of stolen memories. There is the time I did not want to be Jean le Flambeur. I lived on Mars, in a place of forgetting the Oubliette. I made a new face. I made a new life. I found a woman called Raymond. I hid my secrets, even from myself. There is the spike, a singularity both in technology and space-time, a bright flash in the Martian night, a dying Jupiter raining quantum dreams down on the people of the Oubliette. There is the hallway of birth and death, the building I made to remind immortals of how things end. There is the lover of an Oubliette artist whose memories I sought inspiration from. He was touched by the spike. In his mind I saw the fire of the gods, and I had to have it. There is the Martian Zoku. They brought the box with them from the Protocol War. Inside a captured Sobornost Founder Gogol, one of the rulers of the inner system, a trapped god. There is the girl called Gilbertine, another thing I could not help but want, even when I shouldn't, whose memories I hid the box in. I wore a face filled with a cold purpose that feels alien now. Being Prometheus, that sort of thing, the old me told her. That's what the goddess with the serpent smile whom Mieli serves wants me to be. There is the woman Shushu from the robot garden who was an uploader on Earth. She turned children into deathless software slaves in the sky in the time before the collapse, before Sobornost. That is what pulls me to the home of humanity now, the knowledge that this memory has a purpose, that there is something in the world of ghosts that I need. And then there is the closed door. I open my eyes. The box is still spinning. I have been distracting myself. Earth is where the answers lie, and inside the locked room in my head, what would Jean le Flambeur do? I take the box and hum a few notes of Stan Getz. A circular opening appears in the curving surface of one of the walls. Much of the ship's structure is made from Orchian smart coral, or Vaki as they call it, and it responds to music. I have had enough time to watch Mieli to figure that out. No doubt the ship knows what I'm doing, but I like the modicum of privacy that comes from having a hiding place. I put the box inside and make an inventory of the contents. A couple of Zoku jewels, tiny dark amber ovals the size of quail eggs, stolen on Mars when the detective Isidore Beautrelet and I went to his girlfriend Pixel's reincarnation party. There is also her realm space sword, which I brought with me from the battle with my other self, Jean le Roi. It's not much, but it's a start. I put a Zoku jewel in my pocket for good luck, lock the rest of my paltry secrets away, and go looking for Mieli. Mieli prays to the dark man in the main cabin of the ship. The songs come to her haltingly at first, but after a while, the sculptures in the walls start moving to the sound of her voice, twisting into the dark countenance of the god of the void. It is a song grandmother Brejana taught her, only to be sung in dark places, on dark journeys. But as she slips into meditation, the images become her reflections. Many Mielis looking at her in the walls, their faces the color of dirty comet ice. She stops, staring at them. The spherical candles floating in the air, their tiny heart flames emanating light and a soft cinnamon smell. The song, none of that matters. The hollow feeling inside her is back. There are things she should be doing. Preparing cover identities for the approach to Earth, reviewing Sobornost databases about the home of mankind, and the place that her people, the Orchians, fled centuries ago. Instead, she sighs, pulls herself to the comfortably ordered axis of zero-G furniture and spherical bonsai trees in the center of the cabin, and fabs herself a bulb of licorice tea. She cradles the rough, warm coral of the bulb in her hands. The song to make it comes to her suddenly. A few simple notes a child could learn. She hums it as she takes a sip. A dark taste, licorice and bitterness. She has forgotten how foul the stuff could be. But a memory comes with the mouthful. A morning in the koto when the blinds were opened and the little sun shone in, turning the 1,000 scars and cracks of the ice sky into bright winks, the grandmother pressing the bulb into her hands and giving her a kiss with her withered lips, her dry sweet smell mingling with the tea, the pump trees opening, the little Anansi catching the morning thermals in their diamond web gliders. Even that memory is not hers anymore. It belongs to her mistress, the Pellegrini. It should not feel any different from everything else she has already given. Her flesh, shaped into a container for fusion and death. Her mind, augmented with a metacortex that kills fear, figures out what her enemies are going to do before they know, turns the world into vectors and forces and probabilities. All that for Sudan. So why does the last thing she gave up, uniqueness, the right for the goddess to copy her, to create goggles that think they are Mieli, daughter of Karhu, feel so precious? Perhaps because it was not for Sudan, but for the thief. She brushes aside the old habitual anger at the thought of his face, features that have become familiar over the last few months, bright eyes beneath heavy eyelids, an easy smile, high eyebrows as if sketched with a sharp pen. For a moment she almost misses the buyout link that her mistress used to bind them together, feeling what he feels. It made him easier to understand. He made her sing on Mars. Like everything he does, it was a trick, meant to cover up something he was doing behind her back. But through the buyout link, she could feel his joy at her song. She had forgotten what it was like. And there was honor. She could not abandon him to die in another prison, discarded by the Pellegrini like a broken tool. How could she have done anything else? She touches the jeweled chain around her leg, precious gems in a chain, one after another, irrevocable choices. She lets go and continues to pray, slowly. The candlelight dances on the faces of the statues, and they start to become Sudan's face, the wide mouth and high cheekbones, the arrogant pixie smile. "Why is it that you never pray to me, I wonder?" the Pellegrini says. "Gods are so old-fashioned, mimetic noise inside monkey heads. You should pray to me." The goddess stands in front of Mieli, a shadow framed by the 0G candles, arms folded. As always, it is as if she is standing in normal gravity. Her auburn hair is open and falls across shoulders left bare by a white summer dress. "I serve and obey," Mieli says, "but my prayers are my own." "Whatever. I am generous. Prayers are overrated anyway." She waves a red-nailed hand. "You can keep them. I have your body, your loyalty, and your mind. Remember what you promised me." Mieli bows her head. "I have not forgotten. What you ask is yours." "Who is to say I haven't already taken it?" Mieli's mouth goes dry, and there is a cold fist in her stomach. But the Pellegrini laughs, a sound like tinkling of glass. "Not yet. Not yet." She sighs. "You are so amusing, my dear. But unfortunately, there is little time for amusement. I do, in fact, need your body, if not your soul. My Jean and I need to have a conversation. Circumstances have forced my other selves to set certain things in motion. Something is coming for you. You need to be ready. The Pellegrini steps into Mieli's body. It feels like plunging into freezing cold water. And then the cabin and the candlelight and the goddess are gone, and Mieli is in the Mindscape, a ghost among the tangled threads of the highway. Chapter 2. Tawadud and Dunyazad. Before Tawadud makes love to Mr. Sen the Jinn, she feeds him grapes. She takes one from the bowl in her lap, peels it carefully, and holds it between her lips, kissing the sweet moist flesh. When she bites, there is a faint metallic sigh from the gin jar that is attached to the fine sensor net of the beamy inner hair by a thin white cable. Tawadud smiles and slowly eats another grape. She lets other sensations mingle with the taste this time. The feel of the silk of her robe on her skin, the luxurious weight of the mascara in her eyelashes, the jasmine scent of her perfume. Her former master Kafur taught her that embodiment is a fragile thing, made from the whispers and silences of the flesh. She gets up, walks to the keyhole-shaped window with slow, careful steps. The delicate dance of the embodiment slave, moving so that the gin bottle always stays out of sight. It took 2 hours to place the embroidered pillows and mirrors and low tables in the narrow room just right. She allows the sun to warm her face for a moment and draws the soft curtains, and the light in the room takes on the hue of dark honey. Then she returns to her pillow seat at the round, low table in the center of the room and opens the small jeweled casket that sits on top of it. Inside, there is a book, hand-bound in cloth and leather. She takes it out slowly to let Mr. Sen enjoy the forbidden thrill that comes from it. The story within is a true story, of course, the only kind you were allowed to tell in Seer. She knows it by heart, but looks at the words anyway as she reads aloud, running her fingers along the rough texture of the paper before turning a page. There was a young woman in Seer, she begins, not long after the coming of Sobornost and the cry of wrath, who was married to a treasure hunter. The story of the Mutalibun's wife. Her father married her off when she was still very young. Her husband, the Mutalibun, was old beyond his years. His first wife was possessed and went to the city of the dead to live as a ghoul. After that, he went on long journeys to dig up old heavens in the desert, to mine goggles for the Sobornost. He bore the scars of his work, troubled wild code dreams and sapphire growths that felt rough and sharp against her skin when they lay together. That was seldom. As Mutalibun do, he had long since given up desire to survive in the desert, and touched her only because it was his duty as a husband. And so her days were lonely in their fine house up on the Uzeda Shard. One day, she decided to build a garden on the roof of their house. She hired fast ones to fly up loam from the greenhouses by the sea, planted seeds, told green genie to make her seeds for flowers of all colors, and trees to provide shade. She worked hard for days and weeks, and asked her sister, the Muktasib, to protect the garden from wild code with seals. At night, she whispered to her garden to make it grow. She had studied Athar magic with jinn tutors in her father's house, and knew many secret names. The jinn-made seeds grew quickly, and when the little garden was in full bloom, she spent long evenings sitting there, enjoying the smell of the earth and the fragrance of the flowers and the sun on her skin. One evening, a strong wind came from the desert. It blew over the shard and through the garden. It brought a cloud of old nanites with it that settled in the garden like thick, heavy fog. The little machines condensed into glittering droplets on the leaves and petals of her flowers. They were as fresh and pure as some of the ancient utility foglets from the seer in the sky that her father kept in a bottle in his study. The Mutelibun's wife started whispering and thinking at the fog, like she had been taught. She lay down on the soft grass and asked the fog to make the hands and lips of a lover. The fog obeyed. It swirled around her and ran soft, cool fingers down her spine. It tickled her neck and collarbone with a tongue of mist. Tawadud pauses, slowly removes her robe, and whispers to activate the mirrors she has carefully set around the room. Mr. Sen used to be a man, and men need to see. In that way, her once female clients are easier, but far more demanding in other ways, of course. So she lies down on the pillows, looks at herself in the mirror, rolls her head so that her thick, dark curls hide the beamy cable, and smiles. The amber light brings out her cheekbones and hides the fact that, so unlike Dunyazade's, her mouth is slightly too large and her body not as slender as her sister's. But her skin is as dark and smooth, and her muscles firm from the long climbs on the shards. Remembering the fog, running her fingertips across her breasts and down her belly, she continues. But with the second kiss, and the third, she found that the fog was not just responding to her thoughts, was not just an extension of her own hands and lips, but a living thing from the desert, just as alone and hungry as she was. Fog tendrils wove themselves into her hair playfully. As she reached for the fog, it made smooth, warm curves and planes for her to touch. Gently, it pushed her down to the grass. Her heartbeat quickens. This is how Mr. Sen likes to finish. She touches herself harder, lets the book fall shut. As always, as the heat under her fingers builds up and her hips buck against her hand, shuddering with hot and cold earthquakes, she finds herself thinking of the axolotl. But before she can cross the edge and take Mr. Sen with her, the visitor chime rings, the brass sound sharp and sudden. "Good morning, dear Tawadud," says a voice. "Do you have a moment for your sister?" Dunyazade's sense of timing is impeccable, as always. Tawadud leaps up, face burning with arousal and embarrassment. She pulls her robe around her and disconnects the beamy cable from the gin jar. There are muffled footsteps outside. The assignation room is next to her study, down the corridor from the entrance hall. "Tawadud," says her sister's clear voice again. "Are you still asleep?" "That was exquisite as always, my dear. Although, towards the end you seemed distracted," Mr. Sen says in his dry, tinny voice. "1,000 apologies," Tawadud says, digging for the gin bottle from under the pillows. "No compensation will be required." Tawadud swears under her breath. The ancient jinn purchased her services with a new secret name that she had been searching for a long time. "I promise I will arrange a new assignation at your earliest convenience. A simple family matter has come up that I have to deal with." She lifts the heavy bottle. A precious pre-collapse bioprocessor within allows the jinn to maintain a temporary localized presence in her quarters. The outer shell is the work of seer craftsmen, simple ceramics and circuitry, decorated with blue glass. "In my experience," the jinn says, "family matters are never simple." "Tawadud, what are you doing?" "I'm afraid that I really have to ask you to leave," says Tawadud. "Of course, if you will just lend me a hand. Until next time." Tawadud takes the bottle to the windowsill. There is a rush of heat that makes the curtains flap, a barely visible shimmering in the air, and then the djinn is gone. She hides the jar behind the pillows, covers the mirrors again, and takes a moment to arrange her hair. There is a knock on the door. Just as Tawadud is about to touch the unlocking symbol, her heart misses a beat. Her book is still lying on the floor. Hastily she replaces it in the casket and slams the lid shut. The door opens. Dunyazad looks at her with a mischievous smile on her lips, one hand resting delicately on the Karine bottle around her neck. The secret names written on her fingernails are bright against her dark skin. Tawadud's sister is dressed for a walk in the town. Blue robes, slippers, and a jeweled cap covering her braided, beaded hair. As always, she looks perfect. "Am I disturbing you, dear sister?" As a matter of fact, you are. Dunyazad sits down on one of the pillows. "What a lovely room. Smells wonderful. Have you been entertaining?" "I know what you are doing," her smile says, "and that's why you are going to do whatever I ask you to." "No," Tawadud says. "Excellent. That is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about." Duni lowers her voice to a conspiratorial whisper. "There is a young man I want you to meet. He is wealthy, handsome, and a wit to boot, and free this afternoon. What do you say?" "I'm perfectly capable of arranging my own social schedule, sister," Tawadud says. She walks to the window and closes the curtains with a jerk. "Oh, I'm well aware of that. That is why you associate with street entertainers and riffraff." "I have work to do this afternoon. Charity work, healing work. The Banu Sasan, entertainers and riffraff, need doctors. I'm sure the young gentleman would be curious to see what it is that you do down there." "Yes, I imagine it's difficult to see how the Banu Sasan live up from a Muqtasib tower." There is a dangerous glint in Dunyazad's eyes. "Oh, I assure you that we see everything. My work is more important than a date with some perfumed boy you met at a council party. I appreciate the effort, Duni, but you really don't have to keep trying." She walks towards the door to her study, with steps that she hopes are determined. "Oh, I agree entirely. It is like washing wild code off a Mutalibun's cock, and about as rewarding. Father feels differently, however." Tawadud stops, a chill in her belly. "I spoke to him this morning. I told him that you had repented your actions, that you wanted nothing but to restore the good name of our family, to become an honorable woman again." Tawadud turns around. Duni looks straight at her, with blue and earnest eyes. "Do you want to turn me into a liar, dear sister? Into a teller of tales, like you?" Tawadud pulls her robe tighter around her and grits her teeth. "A teller of tales, a lover of monsters, not my daughter anymore." That's what her father said on the day the repentants found her and brought her back from the Palace of Stories 3 years ago. "Who is it then?" "Abu Nawas," Dunyazad says. "I think father would be very pleased if you two became friends. Duni, if you want to punish me, there are easier ways to it. What does father want from him?" Duni sighs. "What could he possibly want from the richest Gogol merchant in the city?" "I am not stupid, sister. And repentant genie like Mr. Sen like to tell me things afterwards. Father has all the support in the council he needs. He does not have to buy it. Why him, and why now?" Dunyazad narrows her eyes and runs one of her rings along her lips, back and forth. I suppose I should be glad that you follow at least the rudiments of city politics, she says slowly. There have been recent developments that have made our position unstable. A council member died this morning, very suddenly. Councilwoman Alila of House Suarez. I think you remember her? Alila, a dour-faced woman at her father's table, with a wild coat-eaten bald patch in her dark hair, a brass hawk on her shoulder. You should rather shovel shit for a living than become a Mutalibun little girl. I guess this is why, Tawadud thinks, brushing away the memory. Her chest feels hollow, but she keeps her face blank. Let me guess, she says. She was the biggest supporter of Father's proposal to modify the Cry of Wrath Accords. How did she die? A far too convenient suicide. The repentants think it was a possession. It could be the Mazarers, but so far they haven't claimed responsibility. We are looking into it. Father even contacted the Sobornost. The Xiankus are sending somebody to investigate. The vote on the Accords is in 3 days. If we want to win it, we need to buy it. Abu Nawas knows that, and that's why you, dear sister, are going to try your best to make him very happy. I am surprised that Father would entrust such an important task to me, to a lover of monsters. Lord Nuas specifically requested Father's permission to court you. Then again, rumor has it that his tastes are unusual. In any case, I am going to be busy looking after the Sobornost envoy. A dull babysitting job, but somebody has to do it. So it is up to you, I'm afraid. How convenient. You are the one he trusts, and I am the one he sells to the merchant like a gogol from the desert. It was not always like that. She remembers a sizzling pan, the rich heat on her face, her father's soft hands on her shoulders. Go on, Tawa. Taste it. You made it. Add some more marjoram if you feel like. Food should tell a story. Dear sister, this is me trying to help you. Our Father is merciful, but he has not forgotten what you did. I'm offering you a chance to show him who you really are. Dooney takes Tawadud's hand. The gin rings in her fingers are cold. It's not just about you, Tawadud. You talk about your Banu Sasan. If we win the vote, we'll have the power to change things for all the people of Seir. If you help me. Dooney's eyes are sincere, just like they always were when she tried to convince Tawadud to run away to the souk or hide from Keraman the Jinn. Promises. I thought you would try threats, Tawadud says quietly. Very well, Dooney says. Perhaps there are some things Father really should know about. Tawadud squeezes her eyes shut. Her temples throb. It's the Aun punishing me. Maybe I deserve it. Maybe Father will look at me again. Fine, she says slowly. She feels weak and cold. I only hope I'm unusual enough. Wonderful. Dooney gets up and claps her hands. Her jewelry and gin rings tingle. Don't look so glum. It's going to be fun. She looks at Tawadud up and down and frowns. But we are going to have to do something about your hair. Chapter 3. The Thief and the Arrest. I enter the main cabin hesitantly. If the ship is worried, Mieli might really be in a bad mood, and I hate getting beaten up by an Urshian warrior when I'm tired. I don't have to look far. She floats in the middle of the cabin, eyes closed, dark, almond-shaped face illuminated by soft candlelight, wrapped in her usual dark, toga-like garment like a caterpillar in her cocoon. "Mieli, we need to talk," I say. No response. I pull myself along the cabin axis and orient myself to face her. Her eyes are closed, and she barely seems to be breathing. Great. She must be in some sort of Orsian trance. Figures. Live on berries in a hollowed-out comet lit by artificial suns long enough, and you start to have delusions about achieving enlightenment. "This is important. I need to have a word with your boss." Maybe she's in a piloting trance. I once got her out of it by exploiting our biont link, but it took pushing a sapphire dagger through my hand. I have no desire to repeat the experience. And besides, the link is gone. I snap my fingers in front of her face. Then I touch her shoulder. "Perhonen, is she all right?" I ask the ship. But there is no reply. "Mieli, this isn't funny." She starts laughing, a soft musical sound. She opens her eyes and smiles like a serpent. "Oh, but it is," she says. In my mind, a prison door opens and closes. Not the dilemma prison, but another one, a long time ago. Maybe I should have stayed inside. "Hello, Joséphine." "You never called," she says. "I'm hurt." "Well, on Mars you seem to be a little short on time," I say. Her eyes narrow dangerously. Perhaps it's not a good strategy to remind her that I ended our last night together by having her thrown off the planet by Oubliette authorities. Then again, perhaps it is. Joséphine Pellegrini. I repeat her name. There should be memories that come with it, but they too are behind the closed door. That is not surprising. She has probably done some careful editing of my memories herself. If you are a Sobornost Founder, you can do that sort of thing. "So you figured it out," she says. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Oh, that was for your own good, my sweet," she says. "You've spent a couple of centuries running away from me. I didn't want you to be distracted." She touches the middle finger of her left hand as if adjusting a ring. "And do you know what happens when you try to escape your fate?" "What would that be?" She leans closer. "You lose yourself. You become a petty thief, a magpie, chasing after shiny things. You need me to be something more." She touches my face. Her hand is smooth and cold. "I gave you a chance to steal yourself back. You failed. You are still the little thing from the dilemma prison, good for nothing except guns and games. I thought you could be a seed for something greater. I was wrong." Her eyes are hard. "You are not Jean le Flambeur." That stings, but I swallow it. Her tone is soft, but there is a glint of genuine anger in her eyes. Good. I brush her hand away. "Then we are two," I say, "because I don't think you are Joséphine Pellegrini. You are just a Gogol. Maybe from one of the older branches, sure. But you are not a prime. You would never send an important part of yourself to do a job like this. You are just a low-level founder ghost, running a rogue operation. I want to talk to the Prime." "And what makes you think you deserve that?" she says. "Because you need me to steal a spike fragment from Matyek Chen. I know how to do it, and I want a better deal." She laughs. "Oh, Jean, you failed last time. All you were... Oh my, I can't even tell you. Cognitive architectures stolen from the Zoku and us alike. Machines made with a sun-lifting factory. The perfect disguise. And still you were like a child compared to him, the father of dragons. And you are telling me you know how to do it now? Oh, my sweetheart, my little prince, you are amusing. Not as amusing as watching the other founders eat you. It'll be the Vasilevs and Shiankus, right? They never liked you. You need a weapon against them. That's why you got me out. Her eyes are two green pearls, cold and hard. I take a deep breath. Almost there. I must not forget that she can read at least my surface thoughts. There are ways to obfuscate them. Associative images, pearls and planets and eyes and tigers. She frowns. Better distract her. And I do wonder how they caught me in the first place, if I was that good, I say. Could it be that you had something to do with it, lover? She stands up in front of me. Her mouth is a straight line. Her chest is heaving. She opens Mieli's wings. They quiver in the candlelight like two giant flames. Maybe I've been running away from you, I say. But when you get desperate, you always find a way to catch me. Desperate, she hisses. You little bastard. She grabs my head and squeezes so hard that it feels like a Yosegi box about to pop open, pulls me up so our faces are close together. Her breath is warm. It smells of licorice. I'm going to show you desperate, she says. No. Yes. Her eyes are pale green at first, then impossibly bright, like looking right into the sun. The world goes white. My face flows like wax beneath her fingers. This is how they caught you, she says. The story of the inspector and Jean le Flambeur. The inspector catches that bastard Jean le Flambeur in the photosphere of the sun. Before he begins, he takes his time to look at them, the founders aboard the good ship Immortalizer. The bearded engineer of souls rocks slowly back and forth in his chair. The Pellegrini in her white and gold naval uniform stares at him intently, waiting. The Vasilev leans back in his chair, swirling the golden wine in his glass. The two Shiankus, inscrutable. The Chen, still and quiet, looking at the sea. The Chitragupta pokes holes in the structure of the Ver with its finger, making tiny, glowing singularities that vanish with a popping sound as soon as they appear. The inspector frowns at the Chitragupta. The Immortalizer is a knotted configuration of electromagnetic fields around a nugget of smart matter the size of a pinhead. It floats 500 kilometers above the solar North Pole, in the temperature minimum region of the photosphere. He went into a lot of trouble to get the Ver to run on that kind of hardware. The Ver is a little restaurant in the crook of a rocky harbor's arm. They sit around tables set out on the uneven sunlit rock in a cool breeze, glasses of white wine and plates of seafood in front of them, full of rich, subtle smells. The rigging of the sailboats in the water makes a tinkling sound in the wind, like improvised music. To remind them where they are, the jeweled orrery of the experiment looms in the sky, larger than clouds or worlds, against the blazing white curve of the sun. It's a patchwork reality, put together from the memories of the founders, as these things should be, to show respect, to have consensus. Or so the theory goes. The Vasilev is the first to speak. "What are we doing here?" he says. "We have already answered all your questions." The inspector's fingers find the ridges and valleys of scar tissue on his cheeks. The touch awakens the dull ache that is always there, not because the wounds have not healed, but because it is part of him. A show of respect to the Prime. Good, he thinks. It is good to meet the others in a ver where they can feel pain. These are Goggles from branches deep within the gubernias, used to abstraction, with a tendency to forget that the physical reality is still there, raw and painful and devious and messy, like a razor blade hidden inside an apple. One of you is Jean le Flambeur, he tells them. One of you is here to steal. The founders look at him in stunned silence. The Chitragupta giggles. The engineer stares at the coils of purple octopi on his plate. The Pellegrini flashes the inspector a smile. He feels a strange warmth in his chest. That was something he did not expect. High-fidelity vers and embodiment have their advantages and disadvantages. He stops himself from smiling back. I don't understand any of this, he says, gesturing upwards. The sky is full of neutrino winks of other Rayon ships like the Immortalizer, millions of them, moving in tight, orderly orbits, interwoven like threads in a tapestry. Somewhere far away echoes the thrumming song of a gubernia, an artificial brain the size of a planet, watching over its children from the shadow of Mercury, coordinating, guiding, planning. The sun wears a belt made from tiny points of light, sun-lifting machinery that pumps heavy elements from the fusion depths and feeds it to smart matter factories in stationary orbits. An entire ecology of constructor Goggles in plasma bodies churns the solar corona, creating pockets of order that will be used as the lasing medium for solar lasers. But I know it is to serve the great common task. Our brother, the engineer, tried to explain thread theory to me, about quantum gravity scattering, about the Planck locks, and how God is not a gambler but a cryptographer. I don't care. My branch deals with simpler things. You all know what I do. It is a little dishonest. Of course he knows what is about to happen, but it is better if they think of him as a barbarian. Solar lasers will focus on a constellation of points until the concentration of energy tears the fabric of space-time itself and gives birth to singularities, fed with the particle stream that the sun-lifting system kicks up from the pole. Countless Goggles will be cast into them, their minds encoded in thread states in the event horizons. 17 black holes will pull together long tails of plasma from the sun like orange peels, coming together. A many-fingered hand of God will close into a fist. A violent Hawking decay will convert several Earth masses into energy. And perhaps, within that inferno, there will be an answer someone wants to steal. So, where is this fabled creature, then? Asks the Vasilev. This is madness. 9 seconds in the experiment frame, and we are wasting cycles in this fancy ver. Out there, our brothers and sisters are getting ready for the most glorious of tasks. And what are we doing? Jumping at shadows. He looks at the Pellegrini. Sister Pellegrini here has decided that we should dance for the monkey. The inspector lays his large hands on the table and gets up. His sudden movement and his bulk make the glasses shudder and sing. Brother Vasilev should reconsider his words, he says, quietly. He will have to deal with this one soon, and possibly the Xiankus. There are 2 of them, an older and a younger, one in an elaborate avatar from the deep time, a Xianku face embedded in a blue, many-angled body and a forest of limbs. The other an unassuming young woman, a plain gray uniform. He is almost certain they sent the core vampire that tried to kill him in the ship's library. Sister Pellegrini here detected an anomaly in the mathematics Goggles, the inspector says. She brought me from the library to investigate and cut off communications from the rest of the fleet. It was the right thing to do. I found traces. In vers, in Gogol memories. le Flambeur is here. He looks at the Chen from the corner of his eye, trying to see a reaction. The gray-haired founder is the only one who is not looking at the inspector. His eyes are fixed on the sky, and a smile plays on his lips. The older Xianku rises. "This creature you are talking about is a myth," she says. "In our ancestor sims, he is little more than a story, a boogeyman." She is impressively ancient, the instinctive Xiao, the inbuilt respect for a Gogol closer to a prime than he is, makes the inspector feel like a child for a moment. The inspector was the sword of Sobornost. His meta-self rewrites his thoughts. He stayed strong. He knew his cause was true and pure. "Is sister saying that the prime memories are flawed?" he says, clinging to the meta-self's reassuring voice, gritting his teeth. "Not flawed," she says, "merely distant." "We are wasting time," the Vasilev says. "If there is an anomaly here, if the ship has been infected, then Sister Pellegrini should self-destruct, and so our deaths will serve the task. But then she has always been a little too fond of her continuity to do what is necessary." The inspector smiles. "My investigation was thorough. It seems that our brother Vasilev and Sister Xianku tried to manipulate the balance of test goggles used in the experiment. But I'm not here to accuse them. I'm here to find Jean le Flambeur." The Vasilev stares at him. "Of all the outrageous accusations—" "Enough," says the Chen. There is sudden silence. The Chen is the only Gogol on the ship not branched for the experiment. 4th generation, battle with the Conway Angel branch. Even the metaself cannot silence the heavy rush of Xiao that the inspector feels when he speaks. "Our brother has performed his task well. If anyone questions his recommendations, it is surely not out of guilt, but merely out of desire to see the great common task performed well. Am I not right? If it is a question of identity, then the answer is simple. The primes, in their wisdom, have provided us with the means to tell the world who we are." The Chen turns to face them, a beatific smile on his face. "Let us draw forth our founder codes and pray." The inspector takes a deep breath. He knew this was coming, but he has no desire to touch his code, the thing that grants founders root access to the meta-laws of the firmament that govern all Vers. The code derives from passwords in the same way that nuclear weapons descend from flint axes, not just a string of characters, but a state of mind, a defining moment, the innermost self. And his isn't pretty. Nevertheless, he grins at the Vasilev as they all get up. The golden-haired Gogol takes a drink from his glass, spilling a few drops as he puts it back on the table. His hands are shaking. "I would really like it to be this one." "Come now," the Chen says. "Let's all do this together, like brothers and sisters." He closes his eyes. An expression of bliss spreads across his face, as if he was watching something indescribably beautiful. The Ver dissolves around them, absorbed by the firmament, disappearing into empty whiteness like the Vasilev's wine into the cotton tablecloth. One by one, the other founders follow. The Chitragupta's face is full of serenity. The Pellegrini looks afraid. The engineer's forehead is furrowed by furious concentration. The plain faces of the Xiankus are made beautiful by expressions of wonder and awe. The Vasilev is pale and sweating. He gives the inspector one more look full of hate and closes his eyes. And then it is the inspector's turn. In the firmament, closing your eyes does not bring darkness, only white. The founders are stark silhouettes against it. Hesitantly, the inspector touches his code. It aches like his scars, only 100 times worse, an unhealed gash inside him that reeks and oozes pus like a bedsore. It opens when the gunfire wakes him up. His sister lies next to him. Flies walk on her open eyes. He tears out the wires in his scalp. There is a squelching sound and a lightning bolt of pain. Blood runs down his face. He touches her forehead. Under his fingers, the skin is clammy and soft. He casts it at the firmament, eager to be rid of it. The hungry whiteness claims it and swallows. Suddenly, it is no longer white, but a mirror that shows him 6 reflections. He touches his face to feel the scars and sees the others do the same. The scars are not there. His cheeks are smooth. His mirror images are young men with coal-black hair and pencil-stroke eyebrows, dimpled temples and heavy eyelids. They wear slim velvet jackets and white shirts and look like they are on their way to a party. They brush invisible dust from their lapels, look at each other, blinking, as if they had just woken up from a dream. As he watches them, there is a sharp crack inside him. Another self hatches like a bird from an egg. I smile at the confusion in my other self's eyes as we shake off the heavy shell of the inspector. Next to me, the Chen starts clapping. "Wonderful," he says, grinning like an excited child. "Wonderful." We all look at him. He alone is unchanged, a small gray figure against the firmament white. Something is wrong. I look for his code in the ver trap we have created, and find nothing. The Chen wipes his eyes, and his expression becomes a serious mask again. Now that the xiao of my Sobornost disguise is gone, it is easier to look at him. A short, stocky Asian man with unevenly cut gray hair, barefoot, wearing a monkish robe. His face is younger than his eyes. "A ver that emulates the firmament," he says. "I did not think such a thing possible. And all this drama, just for me, just to steal my codes. Better than going to the theater. Very entertaining." The 6 of us take a bow, all together. "Surely you can figure out how I did it," we chorus. I can see it in my other self's eyes, trying to find a way out. But the ver is sealed around us, tight as a bottle. "Of course," he says, looking us up and down, hands behind his back. "I remember the first Sunlifter factory you broke into a century ago. So, you did it again. The old compiler backdoor trick. Basic kleptography. The only part I can't figure out is where you got my old friend's codes. From Joséphine. I will need to have a word with her." I am rather proud of it. Hacking the ultimate trusted computing platform by inserting a few choice things into the hardware of the Immortalizer when the Sunlifter factory compiled it and its sister ships 4 minutes or so ago in the experiment reference frame. So, of course, I also made an escape route. A gentleman never tells. And there is a reason why classics are called classics, we say. A slight disharmony in our chorus now as we diverge. There. The ver is sealed tight like a bottle, but he missed one of my firmament back doors. Just have to keep him talking. Indeed. And betrayal is one of them, isn't it? The oldest of them all. He smiles a thin smile. You should have known better than to trust her. I didn't. But we only shrug. It was always a gamble. That's what I do. We gesture at the whiteness. But you are gambling too. This whole thing, the experiment, it's just to distract the others, isn't it? You don't need it. You already have the Kaminari jewel, the key to Planck locks. He raises his eyebrows. And can you think of anyone else who deserves to have it? We laugh. With all due respect, Maciek, we say, you should really leave jewels and locks and keys to the professionals. Respect. I see. He crosses his arms. You treat this as a game. Do you remember the first time we met? I told you it was not a game to me. That was not the first time we met. But it's good you don't remember that. Then why is it, we ask, that I always won? One of us, I'm no longer sure who, activates the escape protocol. The others self-destruct, flooding the white ver with noise. The software shell that contains my mind dumps its contents into thought wisps, launches them from the immortalizer at other Rayon ships. I jump from node to node in the Sobornost communications network, splitting, merging, sending out self-sacrificing partials. The Chens come after me, tenacious, relentless. But it doesn't matter. A few milliseconds and I will reach one of my getaway ships, beautiful LeBlancs built by the gun club Zoku, with their warm hawking drives, ready to make my getaway at the speed of light. Then the rayons start self-destructing. The photosphere is full of antimatter blooms as they burn my bridges, sacrifice billions of goggles to contain me like a virus. The destruction spreads like a wildfire until there is only one of me left. I try to hide in the firmament processes, become a slow, reversible computation. But in vain. They hunt me down. The Chens and the engineers come, swarm over me like Lilliputians over Gulliver, trapping me. Then the mind blades come, invisible and hot. They take me apart. The metacortex goes first, the ability to self-modify, to sculpt my neural matter. Fixed, dead, no longer changing personalities at will, imprisoned. But they make sure to leave the knowledge that something is gone. A voice asks questions. I don't answer, and die. A voice asks questions. I don't answer, and die. A voice asks questions. I don't answer, and die. Finally, the blades touch a trap I built inside myself a long time ago. My secrets catch fire and consume themselves in my head. In the end, I am naked, in a cell made of glass. There are phantom pains in my mind where the god parts have been cut away. There is a gun in my hand. Behind each of the 4 walls, there is somebody else, waiting. Cooperate or defect. Chapter 4. Tawadud and Abu Nawas. While Dooney waits, Tawadud puts on a new face in her bedroom. She looks at her image in the mirror. The fantasy she created for Mr. Sen is gone, replaced by a plain woman in a white body stocking that does not flatter her broad hips. Unusual? Not today. She runs her fingers through her unruly hair, refuses to do anything about it, and chooses a short hooded cloak to hide it. After a moment's hesitation, she puts on her mother's old Athar glasses. Somehow it is easier to look at the world from behind the round golden lenses. She picks up her doctor's bag and joins Dunyazad at the balcony of the palace's apartment wing to wait for the elevator. Her sister gives the glasses a disapproving look. "They do not really suit the shape of your face," she says. "Mother never had much taste, poor woman. I trust you will be extra charming to make up for the lack of style. You never knew Mother at all, Tawadud thinks, and you do not know me. She decides to ignore Dooney's barb. She has spent the whole day indoors, and it is good to feel the breeze and the heat of the afternoon sun. Her father's palace is like a hand sticking out of the Gollancz shard, resembling a climbing plant on a giant wall. 5 tall buildings that were once vertical but are now horizontal, overgrown with walkways, joined together with extensions, balconies, and hanging gardens. Somewhere above, there are faint echoes of moaning gin music. Heavy smells of food drift up from Tocht, the Gogol merchant's palace, mingling with the warm wind. Below, overhanging minarets, snaking platforms, and vertical streets cling to the Gollancz shard like ivy. The city itself is lost in haze far below, glints of purple, gold, and blue within a shroud of white mist. The shard is a cylinder segment almost 2 kilometers high, a piece of the orbital O'Neill colony where her ancestors lived, until it fell from the heavens. The impact broke its hull, millions of tons of diamond and metal and strange pre-collapse materials, into pieces like an eggshell, into 5 shards sticking out of the bedrock. They reached towards the sky that was lost, guarding Seir the hidden, Seir the blessed, the last human city on Earth. There is a cough behind her. "Please excuse my sister," Dunyazad says. "She is a dreamer, and sometimes I have to be firm to get her to notice the real world." "The Aun know Seir needs more dreamers in these hard times," says a male voice, low and soft. Tawadud turns around. A man stands on the balcony with them. He is small and slight, shorter than Tawadud, and looks tired. His skin is pale and tallowy. He is dressed in rich black and silver robes that emulate a Mutalibun's traditional garb, but are made from strange Sobornost fabrics that flutter in the breeze. He has long flowing hair, a narrow face, and a gin jar for an eye. A leather strap across his face supports an ornate brass device where his left eye should be. His human eye is bright and green. "I am a dreamer myself," he says haltingly, as if reciting lines. "Sometimes I am a blind beggar dreaming that I am Abu Nawas, and the morning wine I had and such beautiful ladies as you are just fantasies. But I'm quite sure that I would never dream of anything quite as hideous as my reflection in your eyes. So you must be real, thank the Aun." Abu Nawas kisses Tawadud's hand, and sunlight glints in his brass eye. His lips are cool and dry and barely brush her skin, like the tickling touch of a djinn. His hand shakes a little, and he lets go quickly. "Lord Nuwas, this is my sister, Tawadud. We are most grateful that you have agreed to escort her. She is so diligent with her charitable duties, you see. Otherwise, she would have arranged to meet you in a more dignified setting." Tawadud studies Abu Nawas, looking at him longer than is strictly proper. His smile wavers. She straightens her back. Suddenly she is not Tawadud, the black sheep of the Gollancz family. She is Tawadud, the pride of the palace of stories, the lover of the axolotl. "No, sister, you do not know me at all." "My sister jests," Tawadud says in a low voice. "I have no intention of being dignified." She removes her athar glasses and smiles, giving Abu Nawas the same look she shared with Mr. Sen and her mirror image. "But I would be delighted if you were to escort me and say more such beautiful things. I did not know you were a poet." She offers Abu Nawas her arm. He steps forward and takes it, puffing his chest. Merely a dabbler, my lady. Just words that come to a Mutalibun's mind while walking the desert. Pale shadows of beauty, like yours. Tawadud laughs and rewards him with another smile, just a little warmer than the last one. I would happily let a blind beggar accompany me for such words, Lord Nuas, she says. Please, call me Abu. Dunyazad gives Tawadud an astonished look. Tawadud purses her lips. Dear sister, did you not have some council duties to attend to? I'm sure they aren't terribly important, and we must both serve our father and our city in whatever way we can. The elevator is a clunky analog thing with a flexible frame, a metal centipede that crawls along rails protruding from the shard. The descent creates a pleasant breeze. For a time, Abu Nawas seems content to hold on to her arm and watch the city unfolding before them. An idea is hatching in Tawadud's mind, and she welcomes the quiet to let it grow. You are going to regret this, Duni. You really are. To the east, there are the hills and greenhouses, and beyond them the sea. In the north lies the city of the dead, with its row upon row of grey, featureless buildings. Tawadud quickly turns her gaze away from it. The city proper is dominated by the spire of the Sobornost station, a massive diamond tower, bristling with heroic statues higher than the shards. It looms above the morass of the Gogol markets that slowly give way to the wide streets and low buildings in the shadow of the Ugarti and Uzeda shards. The sunlight flashing off its upper segments makes it seem like it's made of gold. It changes, sometimes slowly, sometimes even as you watch, new spires rising and falling, surfaces and statues rotating. Every few seconds there are booms and flashes, streaks of light from thought wisps carrying Sobornost mines, fired towards the gourd that the masters of the inner system are building in the sky. Makes you feel small, doesn't it? Abu says. Abu Nawas has a reputation. Grand gestures in the Gogol markets, investment decisions that sometimes look like madness. Yet her more influential clients speak of Abu with reluctant respect. Small men need to feel powerful. Tawadud keeps her eyes downcast. I prefer the grandeur of the shards to the undead creations of the Sobornost, she says, and the Wildcoat Desert taught them in the Cry of Wrath how small they can be. Yes, well, Abu says, at least for a time. Another elevator passes them. A swarm of fast ones flashes past, trying to catch up with it, buzzing. They are tiny humanoids the size of Tawadud's forefinger, with black bodies and humming wings, who hitching rides to the top of the shards on elevators to soak up solar energy and potential energy on the way down, selling it to the cities of the little people like Kush and Misr, and 100 others in Central Seer whose names slow baseline humans will never know. The passengers are trying to shoo them away. They dodge flailing hands effortlessly, buzzing around the elevator like a cloud of flies. I envy them sometimes, Abu says, looking at the creatures. To live in a world of giant statues, live fast lives, fight fast wars, fit centuries and dynasties in a day. Our lives are far too short, don't you think? They also say, Tawadud says, leaning closer to him, that the fast ones and the genie know pleasures that are lost to us, and once a human has tasted them, it is far too easy to lose interest in the flesh. I see, Abu says, turning his brass eye towards her, cocking his head like a bird. And do you speak from experience, Lady Tawadud? His expression is stiff. After his initial shyness, Abu Nawas is hard to read, like Mutalibun often are, At the pretext of shielding her eyes against the sun, Tawadud lifts up her athar glasses and looks at the Gogol merchant's aura in the shadow. His entwined djinn is a fiery serpent, coiled protectively around him. I need to be more subtle with this one. Tawadud follows the receding elevator with her gaze. I am just an innocent girl from the Gomeles family. That's not what the stories say. The stories say many things, and that's why the repentants hunt them down before the body thieves steal our minds with them. I care for stories less than poetry, dear Abu, and you promised me more of it. I'm afraid the only thing I have to offer in return is an evening of hard work amongst the Banu Sassan. She touches Abu's hand. But then you are no stranger to hard work. My sister and I both appreciate the help you have offered my father. It is nothing. I would rather you appreciated my wit, or my handsome features. He smiles ironically and touches his eye. Foolish girl. Kafur's first lesson. Make it like a dream, and never let them wake. There is no greater honor in Seer than the touch of the entwiner, and honor is greater than beauty, Tawadud says. What is it that you see with your eye? She smiles mischievously. Anything you like. Would you like to see? He holds out his hand. Wordlessly, she hands over her athar glasses, blinking at the bright sunlight. Abu turns them around in his hands. He whispers a secret name that Tawadud does not know. Try now. Tawadud accepts the glasses uneasily and puts them on. She blinks, expecting to see the usual chaos of the local athar, the digital shadow of reality. The seals of the palaces keep the worst of the wild code away from the shard, but even here the athar is always full of old spimes and noise. She sees a different seer. It is a vast, shifting spiderweb of light. The Sobornost station is still there, a glowing star in the center, but everything else is replaced by an intricate, constantly shifting network. Bright braids that flash into being and disappear, dense glowing currents that stretch from horizon to horizon, sudden blooms of activity that look like nests of fiery insects. After a moment, Tawadud has to close her eyes. It is like watching the surface of the sun. This is what we see, Muqtasib and Mutalibun, Abu says. This is what the repentants gather for us, the blood of Seer. Gogol trade, Sobertech trade, genie labor. Even, he lowers his voice, embodiment trade. It's like a garden, and we are gardeners. We need to decide where to plant, and where to cut, and where to grow, to keep Seer alive. That is why I help your father. That's what makes me feel small. Tawadud blinks, and the vision is gone, replaced by athar, the broken scrawls it writes on people and buildings, defaced by the white noise of wild code. She removes her glasses. Then I'm glad I'm taking you to see the Banu Sassan, she says slowly. One often feels small when looking at things from too far above. Your sister did say that we would get along, Abu says, taking Tawadud's arm again, and try as she might, she cannot read his smile. This is going to be harder than I thought. Clanking and rattling, the elevator takes them down to the base of the shard, and with even more noise reconfigures itself into a tram. It carries them through the wide streets of the shade quarters towards the city center, along the narrow channels of water that lead towards the sea, the station, and the Banu Sassan. Chapter 5. The Thief and the Hunter. Mieli floats in the Mindscape, a ghost within the ghost of the ship. It is a representation of the world lines all smart matter leaves behind, from every nut and bolt of Perhonen to the system-wide machinery of the highway. Reality overlaid with interpretation and explanation, cold physics caught in a cobweb of meaning. Even when she is not piloting, she likes it here. The ship is made from her words, and here she can see them. With a thought, she can look through walls, zoom in to the pseudo-living sapphire nanomachinery of the ship, or grow into a giant and hold the impossibly complex clockwork of the system in the palm of her hand. She can even turn back and look at her own body, as if from some strange afterlife. Except now, the central cabin of the ship is closed to her spine vision. She has been banished here like an ancestor spirit, while the Pellegrini plays with the thief. At least the dreamy feel of the Mindscape makes the disgust easier to bear. "Don't worry," Perhonen says. "As far as I can tell, they are just talking this time." "I don't want to know," Mieli says. "In any case, we have better things to do." She said something is coming. She interrogates the goggles in the ship's sensor array, who spend their bodiless existence watching the ship's ghost imagers, neutrino detectors, and other sensors. They are on one of the lesser highway branches, engineered by Sobornost to provide pathways for their thought-wisp traffic. Apart from old, scattered Zoku routers, remnants of the Protocol War, and relativistic world lines of the wisps, there is not much within millions of kilometers of the ship. Still, just to be sure, she tells the ship to start activating the hidden Sobornost technology in its hull. Like Mieli, the ship is an uneasy amalgam of Orshun and Sobornost, remade on Venus, hidden weapons and quantum armor and vers and goggles and antimatter embedded in Vaki smart coral like diamond insects in amber. "I was wondering," Perhonen says. Its voice is different here, not just coming from a butterfly avatar, but from everywhere, even from within Mieli herself. "Are you going to tell him about the goggle you gave to the Pellegrini?" "No," Mieli says. "I think it might help him. He doesn't really understand you." "That's his problem," Mieli says. "It feels safe to be here, among the stars and inside the ship, inside a song. She wants to forget about the thief and the Pellegrini and wars and gods and quests. Maybe she could even forget about Sudan. Why does the ship have to spoil it?" "I have been thinking," the ship says. "He could help us. He wants to be free too. If you told him the truth—" "There is nothing to tell," Mieli says. "But don't you see what the Pellegrini is doing to you? Promises and vows and servitude, and where did that ever get us? Why should we—" "Enough," Mieli says. "You have no right to question her. I am her servant, and I am no traitor. Don't make me regret making you." Here, without the steady breath of meditation or candlelight to anchor her, the words and anger come out easily. "I am not your child. I am your maker. You have no idea what—" And then, neutrino rain, gentle as a breeze, anomalous. She stops. The ship says nothing. The Mindscape is silent. Mieli scans the sky again. Synth bioseeds, thought-wisp shells, and much further away, a lonely Sobornost rayon in the main vein of this highway branch. Still, her neck bristles. Maybe I should apologize, she thinks. Perhonen is trying its best to watch over her. That's what it has been doing.